Well, clearly this close to finals week, it's more important than ever to focus on your mental health. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam. This is my buddy Reese here. Back to you all at the desk.
Tuesday was Election Day in Pennsylvania. And while voters may not have been picking their next president, their choices could determine that outcome in more than one way. SUTV's Adam Beam was out at the polls to see what was on the ballot. Adam?
On the exterior, it may just look like a church, but in actuality, it is one of the 3 polling places you can find here in Shippensburg. Today is Tuesday, November 7th, and that means it is municipal elections here in the great state of Pennsylvania. And while these elections may seem on the smaller scale of things, it could have massive ramifications both for the upcoming presidential election and what's being taught in your students' classrooms. This election day, seats are up for grabs in the Superior Courts, the Commonwealth Courts, and most importantly, a single seat in the state Supreme Court. Looking at the Supreme Court race, voters will be determining who takes over the seat once held by Chief Justice Max Baer, who passed away in September of last year. The 2 candidates are Daniel D. McCaffrey for the Democrats and Carolyn Carluccio for the Republican ticket. It should be noted that the Democrats would still have the majority in the court if Carluccio were to secure a victory. But the outcome of the November 7th election could have effects that ripple through to the presidential election now less than a year away. If you remember back to 2020, Pennsylvania was one of those swing states that ultimately secured a Biden victory, despite efforts from Republican lawmakers to overturn those results. The court also upheld the state's mail-in voting laws, which are still set to make up a large number of next year's voting population. Here in Shippensburg, voters young and old were out early to make their voices heard. Here's what a few of them had to say.
Honestly, just more the fact that we have the opportunity to vote, and we're lucky enough to have the chance to vote in any either small or major election. So anytime I get a chance to vote, I always take my opportunity.
Individuals within my age range come out to vote, and so it's important for me to show that I voted, and you should too as well. And in order for us to see change and see progress in the United States, I think it's important for us to kind of come out here and show that we are voting, and the more people that come out and vote, it's the more of an impact that we have.
Arguably the biggest battleground that is going to be fought on in this election, as well as the presidential election, is going to be right here in the classroom. On the ballot is not just the courts, but in areas like Shippensburg, several seats on the area's school board, with incumbent candidates taking on relative newcomers, all fighting over opposing views of numerous controversies in the classroom. From the teaching of critical race theory to allowing transgender athletes to compete in the sport of their choosing. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
Now live here in the studio to tell us about some of the major results is SUTV's Adam Beam. Adam, what do we need to know?
Thanks, Lindsay and Priscilla. So we are now 2 days out from Election Day, and while there are still votes being counted, it's clear that November 7th was a massive win for the Democrats. Starting off, let's look at that Supreme Court race like we mentioned. So the winner was Daniel D. McCaffrey. He was running for the Democrats, and it looks like he is taking over that seat once owned by Max Baer. And that means that the Democrats preserve their 5-2 control. Many experts are saying that this election, as well as elections in states like Ohio and Kentucky, were driven heavily by reproductive rights. Abortion is one of the most hotly contested issues on the ballot now that we are in a post-Roe v. Wade world. Democrats are obviously running under a pro-choice mantra, while the GOP is pushing heavily on the side of pro-life. Pennsylvania remains as one of those several states that still has accessibility to abortion. However, it is also a state with several caveats to said accessibility. It's clear, though, that voters are passionate about an issue like this, and we could see it be a massive player in the 2024 presidential election. But we aren't there just yet. Let's take a quick look at the mayoral race out of Philadelphia. Sherelle Parker has beaten Republican David O. in a landslide victory and is now the city's 100th mayor and is now the city's first female mayor. This win is a historic one, to be sure. It probably doesn't come as a surprise. Philadelphia has been a Democratic stronghold in the swing state. The past 10 mayors have all been Democrats. The last Republican mayor was Bernard Samuel in 1952. But let's move over to that election that has everyone biting their nails. The race for the White House is heating up and less than a year away. These off-year elections show that Democrats do have some staying power, but the Oval Office is not so guaranteed. As you can see, early polling has currently sees Donald Trump leading over President Biden by 3%, many favoring Trump on things like the economy and international conflicts. Now, Donald Trump has not been confirmed as the GOP nominee. However, he is still leading over many of the other Republican nominees like Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. Again, we do not know what this is going to look like for Republicans, as Trump is also in a plethora of legal battles. Again, we have no idea how that is going to shape the presidential election. However, Joe Biden is obviously expected to be the Democratic nominee as well. This off-year election has certainly given us a lot of topics to look at. We are now 360 days away from the presidential election. Priscilla and Lindsay, I'm going to send it back over to you guys at the desk.
Lindsay and Priscilla, so obviously homecoming weekend is expected to bring out massive crowds of past and present students here at SHIP, but as we've seen with a recent trend across the country, homecoming weekends might be a little more dangerous than they have been in previous years. I sat down with SUPD Chief of Police Pat Taylor, who told me how students and visitors can stay safe.
While no one really likes to talk about those type of issues, it is our job to prepare for them, so we should have action plans and contingency plans based, on the needs for response for those type of incidents should they happen.
The focus on security comes as this month of October has been plagued with several shootings and incidents of gun violence on multiple college campuses, all of which occurring during the respective schools' homecoming weekends. Chief Taylor informed me that not only will state police be present throughout the Shippensburg area this weekend, but will also have neighboring boroughs and even students of the ROTC here on campus to alleviate some responsibilities.
Generally, that coordination is that, we're going to handle this stuff on campus. You may see state police passing through if they're, going to a call on the other side of campus, something like that, and they need to cut through. But for the most part, we'll take care of the on-campus stuff, and state police has their resources deployed in the off-campus areas.
The risk of security comes not only from weapons, but increased festivities could also leave students exposed to other risks.
To be aware of their surroundings, have their cell phones charged, that way they're functioning like they should be, keep their keys handy, their IDs handy, make sure they're locking their doors to both their rooms, their apartments, their cars, and trust their gut. If they come up on something that doesn't feel comfortable, avoid that. But if the place doesn't look safe to go in, trust that gut feeling you get.
If you're at all curious about the other guidelines and regulations for any of the other homecoming festivities, you can find them on the Shippensburg website. But no matter what you're doing this weekend, have fun and be responsible. In Shippensburg, I'm Adam Beam. Now back to Lindsay and Priscilla at the desk.
Over the years, the AMC Theater has been a constant for moviegoers young and old in the Cumberland County area. Unfortunately, the theater is closing its doors after nearly 40 years. When the Chambersburg Mall opened in 1982, it was a popular shopping location as well as hangout spot for the Cumberland County area. The movie theater started showtimes in 1984. Current assistant manager Joel Streit has been working for the theater before it was an AMC. When he first started, it was known as the Carmike Cinemas.
Of course, before it was a Carmike Cinemas, it was opened in '84 as a Manos Theaters. Became Carmike, then later became AMC.
He showed us around the projection booth, antiques, and even filled us in on some of the theater's iconic moments.
So Kevin Bacon visited this mall, and when Kevin came in, supposedly to buy a pair of jeans he needed because he had relatives in Carlisle, just north of us, and asked why Tremors wasn't playing. We may have had it at another theater in town, but we just didn't book it, and that kind of, was just funny. He had stopped by, and we disappointed him by not having his summer blockbuster movie, because Kevin Bacon was pretty big by that time in 1990.
AMC bought the theater in 2017, and despite making it through the pandemic, the theater chain still had its struggles. Now with blockbusters like the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves, the Chambersburg AMC will take a bow after all showings have ended on Sunday, April 16th. However, Stripe remains hopeful a new theater will make its way to the county.
No, it's a lot of memories here. From emergencies and incidences and parties and just mall events. It's been pivotal to the town here, and to not have a theater is just a crime.
Currently, as it stands, theater owners have not yet indicated whether or not they plan on relocating the theater at this time. So for avid moviegoers like myself, the nearest theaters now for anyone in the Shippensburg or Chambersburg area are going to be in Carlisle or in Gettysburg. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam. While the ongoing conflict in Russia and Ukraine may be an ocean apart, that doesn't mean that local schools like here at Elizabethtown College can still provide support to those in need. The Adopt a School program is one of the many relief fund efforts by the Ukraine Protection and Development Fund, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing used and functional office and technical supplies to keep Ukrainian students' education going.
We had some equipment that was coming out of use here at the college and needed to find a new home, and we were able to partner with the Adopt a School program to find a new place that could make use of equipment that didn't have use for us here at the college. It was a great opportunity to give it a second life.
Brian Helm, Senior Director of IT Services, is the man responsible for getting Elizabethtown College involved in the Adopt a School program.
This is just another way we can really bring that forward. So something that is really able to help our environment as well as another country and students in that country to be able to use the technology. It's a great way for us to be able to give back and to really serve others.
Elizabethtown College has sent 93 computers and an assortment of tech accessories that will hopefully provide comfort to the millions displaced by the ongoing conflicts. As mentioned, if you have technology lying around that you would like to donate, all schools are eligible to partake in the Adopt a School program. If you're interested, you can visit our website, abc27.com. But here in Elizabethtown, Adam Beam, ABC 27 News. While the vote was not unanimous, SGA and the administration still approved the budget for the coming year. So it's most likely student groups will not see the full extent of what these budgets will entail until the start of the fall semester. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
And that's it for sports this week. I'm Adam Beam. Now back to JD and Haley at the desk. That's it for this week's World News. I'm Adam Beam. Now back to Haley and Bailey at the desk. That'll do it for this week's entertainment. I'm Adam Beam. Now let's send it back over to Lindsay and Priscilla at the desk. Drive safe and have a wonderful holiday. I'm Adam Beam. Now let's send it over to Michael Donegan with this week's entertainment.